Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Demise, King of Armageddon, Ruin, Queen of Oblivion deck profiles. I'm really excited for this because it's actually a Patreon request deck profile for Awalt. Awalt actually requested this particular deck because of the artwork and how awesome it is to just be able to summon out two extremely powerful boss monsters, one that can board wipe and one that can attack multiple times, just completely clean up games. This deck is absolutely awesome and plays one of the most iconic ritual monsters in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So, without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, just like Awalt did, for all those awesome rewards like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test stands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Demise, Supreme King of Armageddon. So this card is absolutely crazy. Basically, this card has the ability that you can ritual summon this card with Cycle of the World, and this card name becomes Demise, King of Armageddon, on the hand or on the field. And this card's ritual summon, when this card is ritual summon is on your field, your ritual monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. And if all the monsters used to ritual summon this card were ritual monsters, you don't have to pay life points to activate its effects. And then once per turn, you can pay 2,000 life points to destroy as many other cards on the field as possible. And if you do, inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent for each card that they controlled that was destroyed by this effect, which is absolutely crazy. It helps you in games really quickly with this card, and it being a 3k beat stick is just absolutely insane. We then play 3 copies of Ruin, Supreme Queen of Oblivion. This card is really good too. This card has the ability that this card's name becomes Ruin, Queen of Oblivion while in the hand or on the field. And then while this ritual summon card is on the field, ritual monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects either. And if all monsters used to ritual summon this card are ritual monsters, then you can make a second attack during each battle phase. And if this card is destroyed by an opponent's monster by battle, if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, then you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster had as an original attack, which is really cool. Just to be able to just attack twice and be able to inflict damage to your opponent is just absolutely crazy for this particular card. We then play 3 copies of Demise, King of Armageddon. This card is really, really good too. This is the old school boss monster of a lot of ritual decks, and it has the ability that by paying 2,000 life points, you can destroy all other cards on the field except this card, which is really cool to just have a 2,400 beat stick that can just destroy everything on the field at the cost of 2,000 life points. We then play 3 copies of Incantation Chalice Slime. Incantation Chalice Slime can basically reveal this card in your hand, discard any card, and if you do, you special summon an incantation from your deck. And also during the end phase, you lose 2,500 life points if you do not special summon a ritual monster the turn after you resolve this effect, which is totally fine because we're always going to be special summoning a ritual monster in this particular deck, so that is never an issue. We then are playing some incantations in the form of 3 copies of Talismandra. The Talismandras are really good in this particular deck because basically all of your incantations let you reveal a particular card, whether it be ritual monster, ritual spell, special summon them from the hand, and then you could special summon another incantation, and then that other incantation lets you add from your deck to your hand either a ritual spell or ritual monster. Talismandra lets you reveal a ritual monster, and then if it's special summon, you get to add a ritual monster from your deck to your hand as well. Candle lets you reveal a ritual spell to special summon it, then you get special summon another incantation, and if this card is special summoned by a incantation's effect, then you get to add a ritual spell. We then play 2 copies of Bookstone. Bookstone lets you add a ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand, but you have to reveal a ritual spell to special summon this card. And then we play 2 copies of Pencil Plume, which makes you reveal a ritual monster and lets you add a ritual monster from your graveyard to your hand if this card is special summoned off the effect of an incantation monster's effect, which is pretty good that you just have all this recursion and searching in the deck as well. We then play 3 copies of Zaborg, the Mega Monarch. This card is one of your only normal summons in this particular deck. You contribute your incantations to actually special summon this card very easily. Then you pop the copy of Zaborg, and then once you do, you will actually get to search the deck for multiple cards because you will send 8 cards from your extra deck and 8 cards from your opponent's extra deck to the graveyard. So we have plenty of cards in the extra deck that you can actually use for this particular play, which is really, really awesome for this particular deck. We then play 3 copies of Manju of the 10,000 Hands. Manju of the 10,000 Hands is when this card is normal summon, you get to add a ritual monster or ritual spell from your deck to your hand. So this card is really, really, really good for this particular deck, just to be able to go off with that particular ability to grab anything that you particularly need at any time. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a bunch of ritual spells. We're going to be playing a single copy of Incantation Inception. Incantation Inception has a really good effect that this card can be used to ritual summon any ritual monster. And you must also tribute incantation monsters from your hand or field whose total level equal or exceed the ritual monster's level you are trying to ritual summon. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can send an incantation card from your hand or face or field to the graveyard, and then special summon an incantation monster from your deck, and then add this card from your graveyard to your hand. So basically it activates the effects of your incantation monsters because they're special summon. It does let you add this card back to hand, and it gives you the ability to grab what you need out of the deck off that incantation's effect, which is super helpful, and it gives you utility to use this for any particular ritual monster. We then play 3 copies of End of the World. End of the World is an awesome card that has the ability to ritual summon a Ruin or a Demise, and since they count as Ruin or Demise in your hand, you can actually use this to ritual summon out the big Ruin and the big Demise as well, which is really good. But you must also tribute monsters from the field or your hand whose total levels equal the level of the ritual monster you're attempting to ritual summon. It has to be exactly the amount, which is the only downside to this card. We then play 3 copies of Cycle of the World. Cycle of the World is a fantastic card in this deck as well. Cycle of the World basically lets you ritual summon a Ruin or Demise, but you have to use monsters from your field, which is a little bit of a downside for this card as well. I really wish it just lets you tribute from anywhere to give you additional ritual spells for the deck, but it does make you tribute monsters from the field only, whose total level equal or exceed the level of the ritual monster you're trying to ritual summon. And then during the main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle this card into the deck and add a End of the World from your deck to your hand. Then you get to add a Ruin or a Demise from your graveyard to your hand, but it has to be the specific Ruin, Queen of Oblivion, or Demise, King of Armageddon from your graveyard to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. Dark Ruler No More is really good in the deck too because it basically shuts down your opponent's field, and then you can go ahead and demise their field, which is really nice to just turn everything off that's monster effects and then immediately just board wipe them is really good in this deck. And so this card is definitely a 3 of. I did change it out for Pot of Extravagance. If you want to play the Pot of Extravagance, you can, but it did kind of conflict a little bit for me with the copies of the Zaborg, so I did drop the copies of Pot of Extravagance for that. So you can either change out the copies of Zaborg for your copies of your particular Pot of Extravagances, or you can drop this for Pot of Extravagance and just kind of hope for the best. But I feel like the Dark Ruler No More Zaborg combo is the best way to actually go about this deck, because this card is actually going to help you out a lot to just be able to turn boards off and go in, blow board, and then your opponent's going to have no way to recover because you're going to just completely eradicate their entire board. We then play 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. Pre-Preparation of Rites actually only lets you add End of the World and your copy of your normal Demise from your deck to your hand. You can only add this and regular Demise or regular End of the World from deck to hand because that is the only card that actually specifically lists it on that particular card, which is pretty good. You can add them from deck to hand, so it does help the deck out a lot with consistency because it's a +1, but that's the main thing. You're always going to be searching anyways, so it's totally fine. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Herald of the Arclight. Herald of the Arclight is here because you're going to send it to graveyard with Zaborg, and then it's going to let you add a ritual monster or ritual spell from your deck to your hand. When Zaborg goes off, it pops itself, and then you're going to send 8 cards from extra deck to graveyard, which is always going to be your 3 copies of Herald of the Arclight to be able to add those cards from deck to hand. It's essentially a normal summon of Search 3, which is really good. 1 copy of Deep Sea Prima Donna. Prima Donna has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to add 1 banished card from your 1 banished card back into the deck and then shuffle the deck. So this card comes up every so often, so I do play it as a 1 of in here just in case. 1 copy of Omega, because Omega can actually shuffle itself and a card from your graveyard back into the deck, which is pretty good. 3 copies of Elder Entity Nist, because this card lets you basically pop a card on the field when it's sent to the graveyard, so your copy of Zaborg is going to be able to go off with this card and pop stuff, which is really nice. 1 copy of Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. Skull Knight is really good because it has the ability that you can banish this card from the graveyard, target a monster on the field, and destroy it, which is pretty good to get you a pop on the field, but you don't have to do it immediately. I thought about playing 2 Nist and 2 Fossil Warrior in this particular build, but I think currently this is totally fine. These are basically just the targets that you're going to be using to go into your copy of Zaborg and then send these to the graveyard, which is pretty good to get all sorts of different effects. We then played a single copy of number 35, Ravenous Tarantula. tarantula because depending on the difference between your life points and your opponent's life points is how much your monsters are going to gain. So this card can get really big really quick, which is why I play this card as a one of in here because it's really, really good. It also has the ability that while this card has XZ material, each time your opponent special summons a monster, it inflicts 600 points of damage to your opponent, which can be quite a lot actually. It can actually add up a lot to be a lot. We play 3 copies of Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. You can change one of these out for a Super Dora if you want to, but I would play at least 2 copies of this card. You will go into this card a lot. So I play it as a 3 of, and it's really good because basically you inflict 2,000 points of damage to your opponent by detaching material, and you can summon a lot of Demise and Ruin in this deck. So this card comes up a lot to be able to just burn out your opponent for 2,000 over and over again. And then I played double Juggernaut Levy. The double Juggernaut Levy is really good because it lets you have a really big beat stick that can attack multiple times, kind of like what Ruin does, but this card is really, really insane that basically, depending on the amount of materials it has, depends on how many times it can attack. You can detach a material with this card, it goes up to 6,000, and then basically you just swing and swing until you win with this card, which is really good. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoy it. It's a really good deck to play around with. The only thing that I've kind of considered changing is dropping out one of the Gustav Maxes for a Super Dora. But other than that, the deck is totally fine. It's a really fun deck. I really love the deck the way it is, and it's a super crazy deck to be able to summon one of the most iconic ritual monsters in the entire game. And definitely be on the lookout for test hands of this because they will be out very soon for this deck. This deck is just crazy good, and it's one of my favorite ritual decks in the entire game. So anyways, guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely give Awalt some love down in the comments down below for requesting this one because it is just a super fun, awesome deck. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.